Hello everyone and welcome back to Bacon. Also, welcome back to Fritz's route. We're going to continue on with Chapter 7. I make my way through the hallways of the palace, determined to find Sir Mithros. Over the past few months, I have been all but invisible to the people in the palace. It allowed me to pass undisturbed. I'd always figured it was because no one remembered who I was with my curse. But today, things are different. A maid sweeping the hallways jumps at the sight of me before quickly curtsying. Your Highness! Her eyes are downcast and she does not look up at me as I pass her. As I walk past her, two other servants heading in my direction also move to the side of the hallway. Your Highness? Your Highness? They remember who I am now? But how? Has my curse somehow been broken? I spend the entire morning searching for Sir Mithros, but he is nowhere to be found. The only room I have yet to search is the throne room. I push open the doors and walk inside. There I am met with an unexpected sight. The king sits on his throne, his posture regal but his eyes downcast. Your Majesty? He does not look up when I enter, but I can see that his eyes are stony, unmoving. I approach him cautiously, and upon a closer look, I notice how his eyes look so empty. It's almost as if he cannot see me. I inhale and something catches in my throat. My heart begins to beat rapidly. What have they done to you? My princess. I whirl around and see Sir Mithros approaching me with a smile. Where did he come from? I could have sworn there was no one else when I entered. Sir Mithros? I was just on my way to see you. Varg just told me you had awakened. What is wrong with the king? Physically, there is nothing wrong with him at all. Anger begins to burn within me. You swore that you wouldn't harm him. Is he not alive, my princess? Okay, Snaky. To think I thought for even a half a second that you might be cute. Take a good look at him. The king is completely unharmed. The change in Sir Mithros' expression is subtle, but I can feel the malice in his gaze. I should add that it was difficult to keep this promise, princess. My queen will be having words with you about this. Mother? Where is she? She has left the palace for the time being. You have been unconscious for a week. My queen could not spend every moment fretting by your bedside. But didn't Varg say he was the one to stay by my side? I shake the thought from my head. When will I be seeing her? At dinner, I assume. Now, if that's all... Wait. Sir Mithros pauses abruptly to look at me. The servants I met in the hallway seem to remember me. How? You really cannot guess? He sighs as he runs a hand through his hair. When you turned 18 and became the Tenant Brand Bearer, the curse that the Lesser Witch cast on you broke. What? Moments before your mother woke, you were the strongest witch in all of Angiel. A Lesser Witch's spell could not have any effect over you. Congratulations, princess, you are no longer a victim of the curse. Your life is back to the way it was before. Now, is there anything else you would like to ask me? Yes, there is. About Fritz. Okay, first of all, I want to go ahead and ask... So, her curse is broken. Alright. If that's true, then why couldn't that first time when she let those guys go, when she showed mercy, be a good deed? I had talked a little bit about it in the comment section with somebody else who had brought up the fact that, you know, she was giving good deeds for other things, like standing up for the queen, just because somebody was bad-mouthing her, you know, much, much lesser things that she got good deeds for, and they were trying to play it off as she didn't get a good deed because her intention behind the good deed wasn't any good. It wasn't selfless, it was just to avoid work. But it just it does seem a little strange, especially if they're just gonna throw the curse out the window after just one good deed, that you wouldn't just give her a good deed for that, because that is still a tough decision to make. Though I get what they were trying to say with not giving it the right intention, therefore it wasn't a good deed type thing. But again, just heck, she could have probably picked up trash, and as long as she wasn't thinking, I'm gonna do this for a good deed, just to be like, oh, there's trash on the ground, I'm gonna pick it up. That would have probably been considered good enough for the necklace, is how I feel. But not letting two guys who really shouldn't have been let go. That's just my hot take on that. Anyway. How do I break the curse? Remove his curse. Well... this doesn't seem like a good idea. This one right here, because he's already indicated she no longer has her abilities or something. She's no longer the strongest witch in all of Angiel. So I'm assuming that her abilities as a witch were probably taken away by her mom. We're going to find out about that too, but I'm going to use this one first. How do I break his curse? Much to my astonishment, Sir Mithros begins to laugh. The sound is cruel and so sharp and deadly it cuts through whatever hope had been forming in my heart. You wish to break his curse? Oh, princess, you should have told me earlier you cared so much about the boy. Perhaps then I would have tailored his curse to your requirements. Poor, upstanding, chivalrous Fritz. In many ways, he was too much of a knight for his father's liking, and that was the correct decision. Ha ha ha! Sir Mithros leans closer to me. Look, sir, there's this thing. It is called a personal bubble. Back up. So close I can see the crazed gleam in his eyes. Okay, doubly back up, crazy eyes boy. Would you like to know why I cursed him, princess? I remain rooted in place, but not flinching away when... I remain rooted in place, but not flinching away from Mithros is harder than I would have thought. I remain rooted in place, but not flinching away from Sir Mithros is harder than I would have thought. Sir Alcaster approached his son for help, expecting him to help kill the king and take over the throne, but Fritz refused. Sir Alcaster needed an obedient servant, and Fritz deserved to be punished for stepping out of line. You are both... No. And so I removed those memories of Alcaster telling Fritz of his devious plans and gave him the curse. Fritz has the Little Red Riding Hood curse. There is, after all, no better servant than the big bad wolf. What? So, they emphasized his teeth, and he was growling and stuff because he's actually the wolf. And Fritz is the little girl in a cloak. Okay. That's a little funnier than I was expecting it to be, number one. And number two, huh. So he's kind of like a werewolf in a way. And I think one of the different variations of the Little Red Riding Hood story actually involved a werewolf. So I wonder. Or maybe I'm thinking about that one movie that was made into a live action thing. I don't know. You know, at the opening screen, there's actually, you can actually see this, what I guess is a cloak around a crystal and indicating Fritz. Okay, so that should have been obvious from the beginning then, based just off of those symbols. But I'm still just baffled. That doesn't 100% make sense, but because you could have gotten really clever with the Little Red Riding Hood curse in a different way. But I mean, I guess there aren't any other fairy tales that would have necessarily fit for that. My brain is just kind of on the Fritz at the moment. I'm on the Fritz. Get it? I didn't even mean to make that pun. I'm just naturally clever. Anyway. Alright, so if this is the Little Red Riding Hood curse, then there are two ways that this could go. Because the story, of course, anybody who knows Red Riding Hood, big bad wolf, makes it to Grandma's house first, eats Grandma, and then when Red Riding Hood gets there, she says the really famous lines, then she gets eaten, but then the hunter comes in, the hunter saves Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother by ripping them out of the wolf's stomach, and then the wolf is killed. Pretty gruesomely in the original story. Yes, much more gruesome than just having his innards ripped out. So there's two ways that this could go. Number one is, and if this happens, I'm going to be so mad, but one or either of them could die. One or either of them could be killed. I'm leaning towards, if somebody does die, it's probably going to be Varg. As much as I hate to say that, because he's supposed to be the big bad wolf. Or the better scenario, the one that I'm hoping is going to happen, and I'm going to be mad if the other one happens. I'm going to be so mad. The one that I'm hoping will happen is actually a joke I've made before in the comments where I was like, split them into two different people. That way I can kind of keep Varg for myself and someone else can have Fritz. As much as I love Fritz, he's my baby. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not, like, he's not my favorite character that I've grown to be possessive of. Like, you know what I mean? Possessive. I meant to say fixated on. Is what I was trying to say. Fixated on. The two of them, it's either one or both of them die, and if both of them die, I'm gonna rage. But the other scenario would be to split them, and they become two different people. And then, of course, Lucettes already made it clear that she's chosen Fritz, so she would end up with Fritz, which would be really bittersweet, because that would mean that Varg would be alone. He's not sure what to do, what to feel. He's now his own person. What is he supposed to do with his life now? Because all he's ever known is, like, Fritz's memories and what he was told to do. All I know is apparently this is supposed to be really sad and tragic, and I was supposed to get the tissues for this, and now I'm scared. I wish I had actually put the freaking clues together ahead of time to know what curse it was, because if I had paid even a little bit of attention, I would have noticed. Oh, it's so obvious now. Oh, why am I so dumb? He has all the power and drive of a predator, but is still so obedient. Wolves are closely related to dogs after all. And better yet, the big bad wolf will always stay close to the lady he desires to devour. Ah, that's not inappropriate at all. I can feel disgust seething in my stomach. I have created the perfect servant for our Sir Alcaster. In short, Sir Mithras suddenly reaches out a hand to grab my face by the chin. He forces my head up at a painful angle. There is no breaking his curse, Princess, not unless Fritz is somehow able to mentally overpower Varg. And we all know how formidable Varg is. Sir Mithras releases me. Now put the idea out of your pretty little head. Don't you already have everything you've ever wanted? He smiles wryly before turning... I will one day figure out how to say that word. And walking out of the throne room, leaving me alone and trembling. To break the curse, Fritz has to overthrow Varg in his own mind? A sudden cold descends upon me. I wrap my arms around myself and shudder. I turn to look at the king, but he has not moved since my encounter with Sir Mithras. Your Majesty, did I do this to you? Mother, if she were here, she could make sense of it for me. Mother, where are you? I stare at my now trembling hands. This is not what I wanted at all. Princess, we cannot... I am the crown princess. Which is why we cannot allow you to leave on your own, Your Highness. It is strange to think that just a few months ago, these same men did everything they could to keep me out of the palace. Your Highness, you'll need an escort if you want to leave. I can take care of myself. Back to being a nuisance, I see. Sir. They know who he is. I watch in stunned silence as both soldiers salute to Varg. Varg turns to smirk at me. Well, what's going on here? The princess wishes to leave the palace to visit the town. Does she now? I can feel Varg's eyes on me, but I refuse to look at him. Fine, I will accompany her. But the queen said... The words die in the man's throat as Varg turns to glower at him. His eyes flash with impatience, and it is enough to coax the soldier into silence. Open the gates. Yes, sir. We're still not sure how we feel about you after that last encounter, I gotta say. The gates swing open. I rush out, thinking that maybe if I move fast enough, I can lose Varg. So what are we here for? Though I tried my hardest to... I just imagine him to be like, so what are we here for? Like, overly... cheerful in that one sentence, but he's frowning and stuff, so if he were smiling it would have been hilarious. Just like, super cash, whatever. Though I tried my hardest to shake him, Varg is still irritatingly close. It is impossible to leave him. Princess? Varg leans out and wraps his fingers around my elbow, pulling me to a stop in the shadows of an alleyway. Uh-oh. In an alleyway. Uh-oh. My irritation is immediate and I look up to glare at him. What are we doing in town? As much as I don't want to agree with those idiot knights, you really shouldn't be wandering the streets. My next words are cold and sharp. Why not? Before, that was what everyone insisted I do. And now the only thing everyone wants me to do is stay indoors. Varg is silent for a few moments before finally letting out an exasperated sigh. And jail's not what it was, Princess. What are you talking about? Varg places his hands on my shoulders and turns me so that I am looking out into the streets. This is... I'm not overly familiar with the kingdom, but even I can tell that something is off. The shops that had once had colorful display windows are now empty. Their displays are dull or non-existent. The liveliness of the market stalls is all but gone. My gaze is drawn to the bakery shop that Fritz had taken me all those months ago. Its dim windows tell me that it's closed. There's so many different sweets here. Buy whatever you like. Are you certain? Absolutely. I know nothing makes you happier than a good pastry. How do you know that? Well, it's a knight's job to know these sorts of things. Just how much do you know about me? Nothing that anyone else wouldn't know. What's my favorite color? Blue. My favorite flower? Lilies. I told you that those croissants were famous, right? Those are my favorite. I'll get a croissant then. Not a custard Danish? I thought you liked those best. You're coming off a little creep. A croissant, of course, right away. An all too familiar ache beats within my chest. Has it been that long since that day? Everything was so vibrant and full of energy back then. This place was so lively, and there was music that filled the streets and performances everywhere, but now, so much has changed. It's so silent. The streets are so empty in the eyes of the people. Their eyes are glazed and unseeing, just like the king's. I step forward to get a better look without realizing. I am only dimly aware of Varg's hands, which have not moved from my shoulders. What happened? The queen happened. But the people, she can take control and can demand obedience, but she can't force love or loyalty. The people of Angel are being cursed, princess, and they know who's responsible for it. Varg's voice is hushed, but he still draws stares. I flinch back at the expressions on the people's faces as they look at us. There is fear in their eyes. I instinctively retreat until I fall back into Varg. His hands tighten on my shoulders. They know that you're her daughter. These are the looks they have always given me. This is why they have feared me. Abruptly, Varg draws his cape around me, enclosing me in darkness. When light finally filters back into my consciousness, I am facing a completely different street. What did you do? Smoke and mirrors. Things might have gotten out of hand back there, so I got us out. I'm getting Phantom of the Opera vibes all of a sudden. He suddenly releases me and nudges me forward. Can we return to the palace now? I grit my teeth. I still want to see the town. It is impossible to think that the entire place is so changed. How was that possible? Sir Mithras said Mother was out. I really need to see her. It's almost dinner time, princess. Your family will be expecting you. Mother will be expecting me. I should see her at dinner, right? Thinking about everything that has transpired exhausts me. I rub my eyes and sigh. Fine, let us return. When I enter the dining hall, a familiar figure stands by one of the windows. I have not seen her for 4 years, but she remains unchanged. Standing before me is the only person whose love I have never doubted. Mother! Oh hey, she pretty. She also looks like she's evil, too. Not because she's pretty, but because look at that face. She's like, nah, 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 nah. I'm a sassy sort of evil. My dearest one. I move toward her immediately like a moth drawn to flames. Soon I have my arms wrapped around her in a hug. I do not care that I am crying. Mother, I have missed you so much. And I have missed you. I cannot believe that Mother is indeed alive. I am crying so hard, tears blur my eyes, and it takes effort to speak. I thought you died. Mother presses a soft, cool hand to my cheek. Her touch is more comforting than I remember. And it is thanks to you that I did not. I am so proud of you, love. I had thought her warmth would envelop me longer, but Mother is quick to draw away from me. I look up at her in confusion and flinch when I see that her gaze is cold. But I heard you left the palace today. What have I told you about leaving the palace, Lucette? No excuses. You know my feelings on this. But have you truly become so disrespectful while I was absent? Let's not fight. Not tonight. Yes, Mother. Come sit. I take my usual chair and stare at the now vacant seats in front of me. There is a heaviness in my chest as I remember who sat in them. Those are Ophelia, Rod, and Emmeline's places. And the king turned to look at him and feel my heart falter, then sink. Lucette? The king is sitting in his usual seat, but his expression is as vacant as it was earlier. It's nothing. Mother follows my line of sight and frowns. Mithras told me of your request. I had not anticipated that you would require something from him in exchange for reviving me. But no matter, I had no desire to see Alcaster's plans come to fruition. Where is Sir Alcaster? My mother beckons quietly with a wave of her hand, and servants begin to place platters of food on the table. Exiled, there's no place in this kingdom for a snake like him. Then why is Varg still here? My mother looks at me with knowing eyes as the servants spoon soup into our bowls. You still need a guard, my dear. It was fortuitous of me to retain him, considering your actions today. I looked down, my mind racing. But enough of these inconsequential notions. We must discuss your training. What? You are the crown princess, and you must learn how to be a queen. Eventually, you too shall become the Tenebrarum bearer. I will show you how to control it. It was impossible for me to think of Mother as a witch, but seeing how she speaks so casually of the Tenebrarum, and considering all that has happened this week, I have no choice but to believe it. Why did you not tell me about the Tenebrarum, about the witches? Dearest one, you were so young. I wanted to protect you. It is no matter now, for I am here. I will teach you through practical demonstration. I have always found that to be the most effective way. She looks at me sharply. We will begin by punishing those that cursed you. Fear and shock immediately flowed through me. What? Punish Parfait and Delora? And where the heck have they been even before she was revived? Didn't they... I don't know 100% now, but did they not know where she was? And didn't even attempt to break into the castle or something? And they even left Emmeline and Rod to escape on their own, trying to escape with Lucette. Why weren't any of them even just... Like, okay, Delora has the ability to make Lucette the princess's personal maid. She has the ability to manipulate at least that much. So why wouldn't they have manipulated their other people that way into the castle to act as spies, to be able to be there to protect Lucette, to get Rod and Emmeline out safely, things like that. I just thought about this and I'm just sort of thinking, okay, why did they just leave things alone for so freaking long? What? It just hit me how they really could have stopped a lot of this, now that I think about it, or at least could have attempted. They have acted to keep you from me and from your destiny. They must be punished. Don't you wish for revenge on those that have wronged you so? Okay, stay silent or protest. I'm actually going to end things right here. I know, on such an important part of the story, but just for now, thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Bacon, and this so far is Cinderella Phenomenon, Fritz's route. If you like the video, feel free to like the video. If you like me, feel free to share, comment, subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And we will continue this next time. Bye-bye!